What we will do is we will do a quick recap of what we did in the first session. Maybe we'll just do 5 or 10 minutes so that we can recall and remember what we did in the first session. So essentially, when we started off the session, we talked about to design a very effective, efficient compensation structure. We need to look at two factors, both internal and external factors. In session one, we talked about external factors. Now, what are those critical things we can, and the takeaways from the session one? We talked about four external factors. Especially very important is the government regulations. So as a compensation person, whenever you want to design a compensation structure, the first thing you would look at is, hey, and this holds good for across all the countries in the globe, saying that, hey, what are those statutory or what are those government regulatories which come into play, which you have to really comply, which you have to they are mandatory. So those are important, maybe from the perspective of wages, maybe from the perspective of protection laws. And then if there are any, like, unlike, I mean, there are many countries like Dubai, etc., where there are no tax laws. But in India, it's so complex, you have tax laws. So you also have to be aware of the tax laws. Why? Because you have to know, hey, what are those elements for which exemptions are given, so that I can factor into the salary structure, because that's very, very important. Then we also talked about when you're structuring your salary, now you cannot say, okay, I'm giving a list of perks. Now, even perks, very, very important to keep in mind that uh, only there are two perks which are exempted from tax, and also they have a limit in terms of gift tax, which is 5,000 rupees, and Sodexo, because you may give a car, a driver, etc., but then all those will be taxed at the employee's end. And perquisites, what are perquisites? Those those benefits you give to the employee for his own personal use, a mobile for his personal use, or maybe for an internet for his personal use, everything which is for his personal use. But having said that, now if you want to give something which is called something for the employer, in terms of, hey, in today's times we are giving say furniture reimbursement, because he has to actually create some kind of an office for himself. So that money, anything you give for the benefit of the employer, because for his official use, then it can be reimbursed, it is not taxable. But having said that, you need to definitely what is that give those receipts, because without receipts, then it will become a tax component. So that is so much. Then we spoke about unionization, and then we spoke about the demographics which come into play these days, and how we can use the older workforce to reduce our cost. And also in terms of globalization, how there has been a mobility of people has always been there, but then how work mobility has actually increased a lot in terms of shifting jobs from a high cost to a low cost, etc. Okay, having said that, then we got into this components of a compensation system, which become key in terms of what is the kind of pay mix, or how do I want to proportion my base salary, my variable salary, and other things. These are very, very critical, and they are dependent on the culture of the organization. And precisely from the HR front, what do they want to do? Are they wanting to attract talent? Are they wanting to motivate talent? Are they wanting to retain talent? So based on your own HR philosophy of motivation, attraction, retention, you can actually make this pay mix, and also dependent on the tax. Like, for example, high basic, okay, low variables, or maybe low basic, more variables, or more benefits. So there are organizations with different philosophies, different cultures, etc., who make these pay mixes. Like, for example, Tata, they always had traditionally low basic, because they would actually look at what kind of a value base they had, long term long-term employment. They never looked at the short term of 3 years or 5 years, etc. Long-term employment. So therefore, they actually gave employees a lot of benefits and kept the base low. And even in those days, the tax laws were such that everything was taxed. Today, it's much more transparent and very, very clear. Okay. Now, having said that, then we got into something very, very important. Now, for every competent person, the ultimate goal of the competent person would be to design a compensation structure which is fair and equitable. Then when we talked about the designing of a compensation structure, we said, hey, it has to be fair, it has to be equitable. Now, we also looked at how do employees look at equity. So out of that, we said how they compare themselves either within the organization or in the market or within two employees within the same organization. So therefore, we said we looked at internal equity, external equity, and individual equity. Now, today we are going to begin with how do internal factors, that is impact compensation, this internal equity, how important, how critical it is in terms of designing a compensation structure. Okay. Now we will get into the program. Any questions thus far, guys? If none, can you just can you just show me a thumbs up so that I know that all of you good to go? Any questions thus far? All right, great. So today, essentially, what are we going to do? We are going to do internal equity. We are going to talk about job description, job evaluation, methods of job evaluation, which would be ranking, paired comparison, job grading, and point ranking. But maybe in this session, we would be up to job grading, and in the next session, we'll be doing point rating. Okay. All right. Now, I want to throw a question at all of you. Yeah. Where is it? I want you all to think. Say, for example, in your organization, you have vice president of marketing, you have vice president HR, and you have vice president production. And this company is a manufacturing organization. All same titles. As a compensation manager, how would you pay their salaries? Would you pay them equally or will you differentiate? Think. Is my question clear? You all represent a manufacturing organization, or you all are compensation specialists. Now there are three positions: vice president marketing, vice president production, vice president HR. You as a compensation manager, will you pay salary equally? Equally when I said in the same band and same salary, or will you differentiate salary? Quick, there can be wrong and there's nothing like wrong.
We differentiate.
Usha, I want to know the logic behind why you
it is skill-based.
Yeah. Usha, let's Usha, please
carry on. See, the salary definitely, though they are on the same grade of vice president, the salary is definitely going to vary based on three things. The first one is their skill set, and the second one is their experience, and the third one is internally in the organization, whether they are the revenue makers or the expense. They are only in charge of expenses. Basically, HR is always viewed as though at the outset it is considered as a business partner, somewhere it is in the mind that they're only taking care of the expenses, whereas VP marketing is the one who brings the business in. So his salary is definitely going to be higher compared to others.
Okay. So you said three things. I will differentiate salary. I will differentiate from high salary to low salary by factors such as skill sets, factors such as experience, factors such as, to put it more specifically, revenue or impact it creates to the outcome. Okay. I heard somebody else wanting to pitch in. Yeah.
No, I'm aligned with the same answer. This is Kartika.
Pardon?
This is Kartika. I'm aligned with her.
Yeah,
inputs.
but aligned, yes. But you want to add one more or two more?
Yeah, it's probably experience and the revenue they would bring into company.
Okay. So essentially, are you saying that we differentiate salaries based on certain factors? Right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
That means
Yes.
I pay somebody low salary, I pay somebody high salary. The variation in terms of salary is different because there are certain factors which are required for a position at a low level, and there are certain factors which are required for a position at a higher level, right? What if with the same education? Then obviously I shouldn't be differentiating, right? Okay, guys. So at the end of the session, I'm not going to open up now on this. At the end of the session, you yourself will come out with much more gyan, and you will tell me, hey, yes, ma'am, these are the things for which we are going to differentiate salaries. All right? Okay? Yeah. So when we talked about internal equity, let me define what is internal equity. In your organizations, when we talk about internal equity, that means how am I paying? Say, for example, for Usha, if she's working in a, I think, real estate or whatever company. How am I paying my people with respect to jobs? Am I paying fairly? One job with the other job, am I paying fairly for the effort, for the, you just told me, for all those factors, right? So what happens? Employees keep comparing. Is there a consistency in the way I'm paying salaries? So therefore, it is very important that if I'm wanting to pay equitably, fairly, then I need to understand what is the worth of the job. What is the value of the job, right? You agree? Only when I understand the worth of the job or the value of the job, then I will say Vice President Marketing is a higher value, so I'm going to pay higher salary, and Vice President Production is the worth is a little lower, so I'm going to pay lesser salary. All right. So having said that, in order to establish equity, what is that we do then? Internal equity, we do a technique or we do a process called job evaluation. How many of you are familiar with this job evaluation? Just thumbs up, or heard of job evaluation? Okay.
Heard of it.
Heard of it. All right. Okay. So if you have heard of it, what is the difference between job analysis and job evaluation? Is there a difference? Just wanting to get my, if my participants understand things already, or I need to go deeper. Anybody can respond. What is the difference between job analysis and job evaluation? Okay, now, all right, great. So that gives me an understanding in terms of, so the first and the foremost thing when I'm going to talk about evaluating the job, what does it mean? Job evaluation is a systematic process of evaluating a job vis-a-vis the other jobs. So it's a systematic process of understanding or determining the value of one job in relation with the other job. So therefore, what does it mean? I can use any process. I'm actually creating a hierarchy, which is higher, which is lower, or a ranking, which is higher, which is lower. Okay. So what is job evaluation? Is a systematic process of determining the worth of a job in relation with the other jobs within your organization. Say, for example, Sayandeep has 50 positions or 20 positions. Okay. So again, in job evaluation, we are not talking about Sayandeep or we are not talking about Shaolin who are working in that organization. We are strictly talking about the job, the role, the position. X may come, Y may come, Z may come, but you are designing a structure so that I can create fairness. Any person can come, and then there is a structure wherein I will then evaluate and fit that person into that system. Okay. So when we are talking about job evaluation, two things very, very clear. A, we are trying to create a hierarchy by understanding what is the worth of the job or what is the value of the job. Two, here we are not trying to evaluate a person in the job, but we are going to evaluate strictly the job or the position. Say, for example, Usha is director HR. So we are looking at director HR. Okay. HR BP. So we are looking at that particular position. Now, having said that, what is the first and the foremost thing you require when we are doing a job evaluation? Okay. Now we'll be learning various techniques. So before we start looking at various techniques, what is the first and the foremost thing for a job evaluation? I need a document which is called job description. I'm sure everybody's heard of job descriptions. Some organizations may have job descriptions documented, some may not have job descriptions. But I would say primarily as an HR person, if you're working in an organization, you must, if not for the entire organization, you don't have the responsibility, at least for your own department, you should create job descriptions. What are job descriptions? It's a document which gives you good understanding about the role and responsibilities of the job. What is the job's purpose? Why does this job exist? The purpose of this job. So when you have a job description, you at least know, hey, why does this job exist? What is the purpose? What is the outcome? What is the deliverable? And then what are the various roles and what are the various responsibilities? What are the key result areas? What are some of the competencies which involved? So it gives you the breadth and the width and the depth of the job, right? The job description. Now, how do you then get this document, or how do you go about creating job description, or how have you guys been doing it? Tell me, anybody in your organization, or how do you think, or if you have not as an HR person, how do you think we could go about creating a job description?
Vilma, Kartika here.
Yeah,
We
Kartika.
receive it in the manpower requisition form,
Uh-huh.
which is initiated for the recruitment.
Right.
So we actually establish some by default categories in that, like the skills required, the regular job responsibilities they perform,
Right.
and what would be the level of the requirement, all these things. Okay.
Right.
So the hiring manager or the department head should be very specific about what they actually want as an output from the candidate.
Right. Right.
So majority of the inputs come from the manpower requisition form.
Exactly. So what you're saying is, typically when we want a job description, the hiring manager gives us, he explains the purpose of this job and the responsibilities and everything in detail. Typically, if we were to do a job description, it is a long process, and it takes nearly, for one job description, it takes about easily 2 weeks, because there are various methods. Traditionally, the kind of methods they would go about doing is, observing, or questionnaire method, or logging in, keeping a logbook, a diary book, observation, etc. Now, for all of you, I want to share a secret, just like the consultants, how do they do a quick way? There is a very interesting site called ONET. I just took a clip of this. You can go to the internet, okay, and click on this ONET, and you will get something like this. All right, very clear? Okay. Now, once you get this, can you see something called here keyword? Can you see that keyword? Now, here, maybe I will just stop sharing this and okay, I'll just show you. Stop sharing, and 1 second, guys. Yeah. I wanted to show this. Okay. So if you just share the screen. Just for all of you, you can see this. I've gone to the internet. So I typed ONET online. Can you see ONET online? Right? Now, if you just do this, are you able to see this? Right? Now next, what will you do? Say, for example, I want the job description of any title for which I want to make a job description. So I can do that. So what I'll do, okay, I'll type an advertising and promotion manager. All right, enter. Can you see this? So what happens at the click of a button? This is a site, it's an American site where you have job descriptions for at least 2,500 to 3,000 titles. So you don't have to start from the scratch. So now when I click on this, I get a very interesting summary report of all the tasks this position is doing. Okay. Then in terms of technology and skills, in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, in terms of abilities, and in terms of work activities, detailed work context, everything, right? Now, not only a summary report. Now, say for example, I will say I want details. Can you see all the details? By category task, saying that plan and prepare advertising and promotional materials, inspects layouts, converse with departmental heads, coordinates with media, coordinates activities, okay? And in terms of prepares budgets, monitors and analyzes. Then in terms of technology skills, I have everything. In terms of tools used, I have everything. Now, I'll just stop sharing. Okay. The interesting part about this is that using ONET is that you can actually search for particular title with reference to the particular industry you want. You can put in IT, you can put production, manufacturing, you can put auto sector. So it gives you a detailed description of task, responsibilities, skill sets, everything. Now what you do, what I do is, then I will actually create a Google format, create this questionnaire and send it to 5 or 6 critical stakeholders. All right. And then ask them, I customize it saying, add or delete or give additional information required with respect to the responsibilities, task, this role incumbent is doing. Okay. Then what happens? I don't have to go back and forth in emails, etc. So once I send this Google format, I get all the responses. Next step. If I see consensus for everything across all the stakeholders, it's fine. But if I do not have consensus for a couple of things, what will I do then? I will then again talk to him. Or if necessary, I will then observe the role or talk to the reporting manager. So that means I will iterate this further, go further, probe further till I get clarity and ensure that I'm able to get the exact, almost closer to what the role incumbent is doing. Also talk to those employees or those people who are working in that role and definitely are top performers, because I can elicit much more information from them. And that is how I'm going to do a job description, which will not take more than, for a perfect one, 1 week or maximum 10 days. Are you all clear with this, guys? So that's how you can do your job description in your organizations. You don't have to hire a consultant to get your job descriptions. This is a very easy way. Go and then give it to 5 stakeholders, talk to top performers in that role, talk to the reporting manager, and then you can close on the job description. Now, that's the first step one when you are doing a job evaluation. Now, once you do a job evaluation, job description, then so the process is called job analysis. What is the process? The job analysis is a systematic process of analyzing the job to do a job description. So all that you do, observation, logging method, questionnaire method, everything you do is a process. Ultimately, why do you do that? To get a job description. Now, the job description becomes your first document for job evaluation. So there is a difference between job analysis and job evaluation, because job analysis is something you do to get a job description. But job evaluation is a process, systematic process, where you are evaluating the job to find out the worth of the job or the value of the job vis-a-vis the other jobs. Is that very clear, guys? You have to get this absolutely right. I have also written a systematic process of collecting information. That is job analysis, so that you get a summary report for job description. Whereas when job evaluation, you are actually evaluating the job, which is a systematic process, so that you are able to establish the worth of the job vis-a-vis the other jobs. All right. Now, having said that, we are coming to the various various techniques, or so this is all the aspects of job analysis. So I don't want to get into it. We have a lot of work more. Okay. Now, typically a job description will have all these things: title, grade, qualifications, ranges, reporting to, etc. Okay. Now, so the first method is called ranking method. We looked at the method, right? We are going to do those methods. We said we are going to look at ranking method. When I say ranking method,
ma'am,
yeah.
just one thing. While doing the job description, we have to put the key responsibilities of a person, right?
Right.
Now that means the major responsibilities that are expected from him or her, because sometimes it happens in a department when there is a manpower crunch. The job is not that watertight, that compartmentalized. Like maybe I am doing some more jobs and responsibilities which probably will not come under my job description. But so how do we do that? Like we do the key responsibilities expected from this position.
So typically what happens in an organization, in a small startup, you will not have watertight job descriptions. They'll be very
right,
because they can't afford to have so many people being hired, so they will expect you to do. So at that point of time, probably, it's not a very good thing to do job descriptions, because essentially when an organization from a startup to a growth phase, when it starts growing, that's the time you are hiring more people.
Right.
Now you have to start looking at systems. That's where you are creating what systems? Recruitment system. You're creating a compensable system, because you can't say it's like by, hiring by handshake. Okay, fine, I'll give you 10 lakhs. Okay, you take 20 lakhs. I know you, so do that.
It becomes ad hoc.
But when you're creating more people, you are having 500 people, 1,000 people. Now, how are you going to manage? Are you still going to manage like that? When you have a small team of people in a consulting organization, 5 people or 10 people, nobody bothers. Everybody is doing everything, right? But when you are a large organization, then you can't do that. You have to establish certain systems and policies, because everybody is saying, hey, I'm getting X amount of money, but I'm also doing this much more. So what is that additional thing I'm getting? Okay. For example, there is a finance guy in a payroll, but I'm also using him to do a lot of HR work for other things. Obviously, it is beyond his brief. I will say, hey, over and above. So he'll also say, it is not fair. I have to pay him something additional.
additional then. Yeah.
extra. But if I put that into the base pay, then my wage cost goes up. That is not his regular job description. But if it is his regular job description, then you are going to do job evaluation for that
On
job
that.
and pay him a base. Okay?
Right, right.
So having said that, good Shaolin, you have asked me this question. So having said that, when we are talking about job evaluation, essentially what are we going to we are going to actually evaluate the job for its worth and define what determine the base salary, the guaranteed salary. Okay, so when we are talking about internal equity, is all about base salary. It is not about variable salary. Got it? So that means when you are entering an organization, you have a contract and you are saying, hey, this is what you get month on month. And this is what a customer care executive gets a job description. This is what you need to perform. And this is what you will get, whether you work satisfactorily or whether you work excellently. But this is your guaranteed salary. Okay, all of you? Huh? I mean, very clear, Usha? Huh? Yeah. So having said that, now, typically, when we are looking at job evaluation, there could be sophisticated methods. They could be also very, what I would say is, we simply call it as rough and spot methods. Okay, so there are various methods. Now, when we are looking at, today what we are going to look at ranking method, and we are going to look at grading method. Now, when we talk about ranking, what is ranking? That means in any class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what does 1 signify? 1 is the highest, and followed by that. So it depends on how you are ranking, whether you are ranking in an ascending manner or whether you are ranking in a descending manner. So that establishes the worth of the job or the higher value. If you are saying, hey, 9, I'm going to do the descending. So obviously that 10 will be your highest number, or 9 will be your highest number, and 1 will be your lowest. So that's A. Now, when you're saying ranking, say for example, in Usha's organization, there are 15 positions. So when I say 15 positions, roles, small company. Now, so I'm using the entire job. It's a whole job method. I'm not breaking the job into any components. I'm looking at the entire job description. So it's called whole job method. It's also a quantitative method. That means I'm not using any, for all those people who got scared of maths. So it's a qualitative method. It's not a quantitative method. I'm not assigning any numbers. It's only a qualitative method. And how do I do it? Typically, for any job evaluation exercise, you are creating a committee called compensation committee. Now, you tell me who has to be the members of this compensation committee. Your CHRO, head of HR, all the business heads, okay, and sometimes even the MD or CEO. So they form the compensation committee. Now, what do they do when you're doing a ranking method of establishing hierarchy or worth of the jobs? So by the virtue of them understanding the organization, understanding every role, so what they do is they will analyze the entire jobs description and its relative importance to the business goal or the objectives, and say, hey, this job is higher, this job is lower. So the entire process is only coming from the compensation committees, what we call it as their understanding, their knowledge about this business, this, what is the business about, what are the business goals, etc. Understanding about the various roles in the organization. Totally subjective, right? By mere understanding, they are ranking as one job higher than the other. And a very common method in ranking is called, can you see this? Paired comparison. Can you see this? Paired comparison. Now, all of you who have startups can actually do this method. Startup, when I say jobs between 10 and 15 jobs, you can actually try this in your organization. Very, very common method. cost effective. You can do it internally. You can do it single-handedly. It doesn't really need a lot of effort. But having said that, it is subjective, etc. But any technique, any evaluation, you also need to have validity. So I will also tell you how it becomes, how there is validity in this technique. All right. Let us first of all now understand this process of paid ranking. For example, say in this IT organizations, okay, there are 10 jobs. How many jobs? 10 jobs. As you can see, the names of these jobs: messenger, data processing manager, data entry operator, executive secretary, computer operator, systems analyst, control clerk, program clerk, assistant director. So these are the various roles, or these are the various positions in this organization. Now, maybe under data entry operator, you can have 5 people working, 6 people working, okay? But position is one. Like for example, HR executive position, you may have 10 people working. So that also you have to be very clear about. Now, what I typically do when I'm doing paired comparison ranking, I list out all of them on vertically, or, as a column. And then I put the same positions here, row. So these are the same positions which I put here. And I start comparing each and every position here with the rest of the positions, And what is the process of comparing? I take the job description, the compensation committee is sitting, and they will sit and say, with their own understanding of the job and its importance or relative importance with the business goals, they will say, hey, this job is higher or this job is lower. For example, messenger, we will leave that because it's very, very clear. Let us start with, say, for example, I'll go down. Computer operator. Can you see computer operator, all of you? Okay. Now I will say computer operator. I will then evaluate with this job messenger. And I will say, hey, this job is, so all 4 of you, like say, for example, Shaolin and Bala and Kartika, they're all compensation committee people by their own understanding, say, and they will take look at the job description, say computer operator definitely is higher job than messenger. So I will put a check mark. Okay? I'll put a check mark. Again, computer operator, I will look at data processing manager, say definitely it is not a higher job. No, so it is a dash, nothing. Computer operator, I'm evaluating with data entry operator. I am not saying, the compensation committee is saying that it is a higher job than data entry operator. Check mark. Got it? So how many check marks can you see with this computer operator? Anybody who can unmute and just, so that I know you all are not only physically but mentally also, and you all are here.
4.
How many?
4.
4. Can you see
Yeah.
this number here, guys? 4. So that
Yeah.
means computer operator is higher than the rest of the jobs. 4
jobs.
4 is 4 jobs.
Right.
It is higher than 4
Higher
jobs.
than 4 jobs. Right.
Let us take another one. Programmer. Okay. Programmer. Clearly, it is higher than messenger. Check mark. Then again, it has programmer is higher than data entry operator. Right? Then program is higher than computer operator. Check mark. Program is higher than control clerk. Check mark. File clerk. It is higher than file clerk. Check mark. So, how many jobs is it higher? There is a score here given 5. No? So it is higher than 5 jobs. So what do you do when you are a small organization? Any of you who have 10 positions or 15 positions, you don't do it alone. It has to have a committee, because when you do ranking and when you then create pay scales, it has to have a buy-in. So you are creating a, now can you see in this total column, there is a ranking. Okay. Now here it is in a descending order. So what does it mean? The highest number will be the highest job and the lowest number will be the lowest job. That means I have created a worth or a hierarchy. I've put all these jobs, 10 jobs, into a hierarchy and said, hey, 9. So Number 9 is the highest job. So according to them, the data processing manager is the highest job here, right? And we will leave out the messenger, and the file clerk is the lowest job. Now, assistant director is next to the highest job. So step 1 in job evaluation, now you are able to know highest job is data processing manager. We'll just take this data here. Lowest job is file clerk. So if you were to design a salary band, so obviously whom will you pay the highest? Bala,
Data
whom will you
processing
pay the
manager.
highest?
Data processing manager, number 9.
The 9th number, that data processing will be the highest, and the file clerk will be the lowest. Now, now here I want to tell you how we do this. So when we do job evaluation, what do we do? First of all, we establish a hierarchy. Have I established hierarchy here? Have established the hierarchy. Then I will look at market data. What will I do? I'll benchmark this hierarchy with market data, and I will say, hey, how do I then create the salary band? So what will I do next step? Just look at this. What will I do next? I will look at all my 10 positions and I will see if I can group them, if I can categorize them, right? Just I want to see, can I categorize jobs like file clerk and data entry operator and control clerk and computer operator? Can I group them as jobs which are into one category? Could be just individual contributors, but with the level of responsibility maybe a little higher and lower. Can I categorize them? So next, what do I do when I want to fix salary bands? I will then categorize them. Okay. Now, after categorizing, what will I do after categorizing? Let me just use a whiteboard. Okay.
Nirmala, just one point I wanted to.
Can you see this, guys? So what did I say? Step 1, I've done job evaluation through paired ranking. I've arrived at a ranking for all the positions, right? And I said that I need to now rank them, and I know which is the highest job and which is the lowest job. Thereafter, I said now group them into similar jobs. Okay, so I grouped those jobs 1, 2, 3, 4, starting from file clerk to data entry operator under one category. Right? After doing that, what will I do? I will get data, benchmark data from the market. Now, say for example, I looked at the market data for these positions for a similar company, and the range is, say for example, the range is 25,000, okay, to 50,000. When I say range, what does it mean? Okay, min and max. From where did I get? Somebody might ask, where did I get 25,000, 50,000? I looked at market data from similar organizations, and I saw that for these kind of 4 positions, for these grouped positions, it is 25,000 to 50,000. Okay. Now, what will I do? I will pay at a higher range for those positions which are higher. So what was that position at a ranking of 4? Clearly it was what? Control clerk. or data entry operator. For those positions, I will say, hey, I will pay, no, sorry. I will say here, let me fill up text. So I will start looking at, I'll pay for say 40,000 for that position, which is control clerk. Why am I paying control clerk 40,000? Because in that ranking, he is higher and he is also critical. Now, a position like what, file clerk, I'll say, maybe I will just pay him here. How much? I'll say. Okay, what am I doing? I'm paying a file clerk. In my ranking, he's low. So to this file clerk, I'm paying at the least, which is called minimum. Now, what is the criteria on which I'm going to actually fix the salaries? It also depends on which jobs are very critical for me. Just drawing parallels and trying to actually make it very clear. Say, for example, Meritt is a training company. So there are two kinds of jobs. Say, for example, there are instructional designers. Okay. And there is also kind of business analyst. Okay. But for her organization, maybe instructional designer is a very critical job, very important job. Okay. But both of them belong to that similar category. So when I'm bringing in, I will say I'll pay instructional designer at a higher salary and a business analyst at a lower salary, but in the same scale, in the same range, or in the same pay band. Got it? Go back to, we'll do some more and then I'll go back to that first statement of marketing and all that. So this is how you typically, what is it? Design salaries and fix salaries for different positions in the organization. Okay, but it's a very quick and rowdy, I would say rough method. All right, let us go to a very more, yeah. Okay, let us go to stop sharing. Where is that? Okay, let us go to this, back to our method. Okay, so any questions here, because we are going to a very important critical method now. One more method. To a great extent, it's clear, guys. Huh? Okay. Now we are only looking at a very, very important universal method, which is called job grading. Most of your organizations will have job grades. So when I say for example, Kartika, when I say you are in what grade, say maybe a L1 or L2 or M1. Okay. What does it mean for you? Unmute Kartika, unmute yourself. Okay. Somebody who can actually, yeah, we'll ask Usha. When I say in your organization, most of the jobs are graded. So what does it mean? You have to unmute, Usha.
Yeah, the jobs are graded in the sense, like we have categorized. Basically, it means we have categorized, the positions.
So when I say graded, an organization can have 10 grades, an organization can have 5 grades, depending on whether it's a narrow banding or a broad banding. When I
the
talk
hierarchy
about,
level.
pardon?
Hierarchy level.
So it is
also.
hierarchy level. It is also pay levels. But when I
Yeah,
say grade, when I say grade, what do you understand by grade? That means if I say Bala is in a particular grade, so that means that grade has a minimum range and a maximum range, and he is somewhere in that range. So when I say job grading, what does it mean? That irrespective of any function, it could be an HR person, it could be a production person, it could be a finance person, based on the job evaluation, I have mapped, I have categorized, or I have classified those jobs into particular grades. So when I talk about all positions which are in grade 1, you will be paying salary which pertains to that salary grade or a band of min and max, right? So you have told, you have analyzed and said, hey, these are all jobs of similar worth of that particular grade. So how do we do that? This is the most universal common method of doing a job evaluation. Most of the public sector organizations, manufacturing organizations, they follow this practice. Now, in job, they follow this practice, and job grading is followed by those organizations where there's not much of change in the market scenario. Okay, so it actually gives a lot of rigidity. There's a lot of control. Risk is a lot. So most of the organizations where you have a lot of risk and control, etc., they follow this process of job grading. Now, let us understand the process, mechanism, or technique. What is the job grading and how do we do? And please follow this because you'll have to do this exercise in totality. A, the first and the foremost thing is I'm going to identify compensable factors. Right at the beginning, I was talking about, I asked Usha, how do we differentiate, pay differentials within jobs? And they said, hey, it could be education, it could be experience, it could be impact. So compensable factors are those factors for which we pay salary. We pay salary for X job, lesser salary, for Y job, higher salary. So these are the factors. That means compensable factors are those factors for which we pay salary. They could be like what? Education. These are the common things. Education, that is know-how, experience, etc. They could also be in terms of what? Decision making, impact. They could also be in terms of budgetary control. They could also be in terms of revenue. They could also be in terms of, so I'll be talking about those list of things. So when we talk about compensable factors, they could be what? Experience. They could be span of control, right? Because as you keep progressing in the job, higher jobs, they will have higher span of control. Lower jobs can just be an individual contributor also, right? Then it could be, business output controls. It could be supervision levels. It could be knowledge levels, skill levels. It could be creativity, budget control. It could be number of reporting people, business impact, dollar impact, client interaction, effort required. So these are all the things for which we differentiate salary. These are all those compensable factors. So these are the things which we talk about when we are talking about compensable factors. So that's the first step. Second, when I'm doing job grading, I need to determine, hey, how many grades I want. Do I want fewer grades or do I want large number of grades? So when I talk about 20, 25 grades, that's called narrow banding. Okay. And when I talk about just 4 bands, 5 bands, that's called broad banding. Got it? What is narrow banding? I'm sure all of you are familiar in a government sector. How many there will be? Number of bands, 20 to 20. Manufacturing organization, starting from deputy manager, assistant manager, deputy manager. So what does it mean? Every 2 to 3 years, there's a change of band. That means the salary band is very, very narrow. That means the difference between min and max is very narrow. So they tend to reach very quickly the end of the grade, that is the maximum in 3 to 4 years. But in a broad band, it is very, very wide. That means the difference between min and max is very, very wide. Is that very clear, guys? We'll do a lot more, but just not to give you a little understanding. Then I have to write the descriptor for every grade and do the mapping. Let me just take you to an Excel sheet for a very, very clear understanding, so that when we start working on it, then you will be able to understand. Sorry.
Excuse me, ma'am, am I audible right now?
Yeah. Are you able to see my screen, guys? Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I was talking about narrow band and broad band. So when I talk about narrow band, you can see that the difference between min and max will be very, very narrow. And in a broad band, it is the salary range between a min and a max is very, very broad. And then it could have sub bands. Okay. All right. Just give me a moment, just one moment, guys. I want to, sorry. Okay. Let me just let me show you a quick Excel sheet so that we can start working on. One second. Okay. Share. Want you all to share this. Okay. Share screen. Okay, guys. Can you see a blank sheet?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Oh my God. One second. Let me just go to this Excel sheet and share this. Yeah, I want to. Can you see this blank Excel sheet?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now all of you have to work on a grading system. Okay. What we are going to do? Job grading. Now the step 1. What does the step 1 I talked about? What does it say? We talked about step 1. I need to identify
Compensable factors.
Compensable factors. So you have to identify 4 compensable factors. How many? 4 compensable factors. So my compensable factors could be any. Just tell me compensable factors, what you want to say.
Qualification.
Right. Qualifications. Okay. Okay. Then one more. What can I talk about? Experience.
Years of experience.
Simple, huh? All right.
Skills.
Then I'll just anything else?
Skills.
I can add that into qualification. It's a know-how. So probably I'll put here, to be very simple, span of control. Okay. So what have I taken? I've just taken 3 compensable factors. Let me increase the size of it. Okay. Now, the next thing what I need to write, how many grades? But for your exercise, you're going to do 4 compensable factors. The next is what you need to do is what 4 grades. So what am I going to write? 1, 2, 3, 4. So grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. You can also say it as L1, L2, M and T, whatever. Or you can have ascending order or descending order. So what is the step 2? That means determining number of grades. So for the exercise you have to do 4 grades. Very clear? Just give me a thumbs up, guys, so that you know very, very well that you are, because you have to do this exercise. The first step is 4 compensable factors. Second step is determining the number of grades, that is 4 grades. What is the third step now? You have to write grade descriptor. That means for every grade, you have to write what is the qualification required. Now, what will you do for a lower grade and what will you write for a higher grade? Say, for example, in qualification, looking at all the functions, I will write. So maybe ITI. You know what is ITI?
Yeah,
The
technical.
polytechnical for engineering and manufacturing. Or for example, I'll say MBA, post-graduation, right? For an HR and for a finance. Or for example, I will say engineering graduate. All right. So what are you writing? You are writing descriptor for every grade. So in grade 1, I will say these are the qualifications. In grade 2, I might add it up with certain certifications. Along with this qualifications, I'll say, hey, in grade 2, they may need some quality certifications like 6 Sigma, okay? Or say, for example, for an HR person, I might write, say, for example, certification in recruitment, or for an HRBP person, certification in business partner, for a negotiation person who's in purchase, say maybe in negotiation, so on and so forth. In grade 3 for qualifications, I will say maybe he comes up to a leadership level, or I will say he should have more of leadership certifications, or say, for example, anything. Not necessarily that you should keep on adding in when you're doing a grading, it is not necessary that every time you are going up the higher the grade, that it will have higher degree of qualifications. Like say, if you have started with a graduation, masters, doctor, not so, because you will see that people who are also in the highest grade in grade 4, they might be increasing their certifications, but not necessarily qualifications. Got it? Okay. So what will you do? Step 2, you're going, step 3, you're going to write descriptor. I will also show you an example of how we have done. You have to write, what is that? You have to write descriptor for every grade for the compensable factor you have written. For example, experience. What will you write? At a grade 1, I will say, hey, 0 to maybe 2 years. At a grade 2, I will say 3 to maybe 6 years or lesser than that. Or here I will say 4 to 8 years. And here I will say 3, what is it? 4 to maybe, I'm sorry, delete. Okay, I have to go to the number column and all that. So 4, and then I will write 4 to 8 years, and then maybe here 3 to 6 years, and then maybe here 2 to 5 years. Okay, so what am I trying to write? I'm writing descriptors for every compensable factor. In span of control, typically what would you write in span of control? Say maybe here at a level 1, he is an individual contributor. Level 2, maybe span of control will be say between 1 to 2 people. And here it will be like 3 to 5 people. And in the 4th grade, it will be something like, 5 to 8 people. Got it? Show me a thumbs up, guys, if you have got it. Okay. Now, what is the last thing you will need to do? You will need to then look at the job description, read through it, and see, based on these descriptors for all the compensable factors, where does he get mapped or categorized? Will he get categorized in 1, or in 2, or in 3, or in 4? Okay, let me just take you to a quick ready-made example which I have done so that you will be able to, 1 second. First, let me just open up. Okay, I will show you when you are actually into a breakout room. All right. So, all of you, what you will need to do is, you will be in a breakout room. Okay. Now, you have been sent positions by Wilma. You have received those positions, quality. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure all of you have received attachments. Okay. Now, all these positions represent a company, an IT company. Okay. They are into IT, product and services, right? Now, there are positions in project management, there are positions in IT, there are positions in HR. Now, what you need to do is you need to look at all these positions. Do not look at those titles and create a template first. Okay, once you get into a breakout room, I will also show you the template for you all. Okay, get into your breakout room, start working on a template first. What is the step 1? Identify 4 compensable factors. Step 2, 4 grades. Step 3, then start writing the descriptor for every compensable factor. Then step 4, start evaluating every job which has been given. There are about 10 positions, and you need to categorize them into whether they can fit into grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. What basis? By analyzing those descriptors vis-a-vis the 4 compensable factors. Is it clear, guys? 11:10. Okay. You will be given about 45 minutes, right? This is a very important exercise. I want you all to do it very carefully, looking at everything, and I will be there to assist you so that you can actually then get the maximum advantage of doing this work hands-on. Okay, you are designing what? A pay structure based on job grading. All right, let me. I'll ask Wilma.
Yes, you want me to open the breakout room?
Yeah, breakout room. If you can put all of them into one room, because I will also be there supervising their job. Got it? Okay.